Hi, everyone. Today we continue the story of Louise Lawrence Rose. As stated in the previous recording, Mrs. Rose is an educator and a current doctoral student at La Sierra University in California. The last time we spoke, Mrs. Rose spoke about how her son was diagnosed with a high concentration of lead in his body. So we want to pick up on that conversation today. And that also sparked her interest in researching how toxic lead can affect child development. So today we continue with Louise Lawrence Rose's story. Hi, Louise. Welcome to Defying the Odds for part 2 of your story.
Hi, Latoya. Thank you for having me once more.
Great, great. All right. So the first time we met, we were talking about how your son was diagnosed with a high concentration of lead in his body. So we want to pick today. We want to talk about how lead affected him. What's his development like now? How is he? Where is he at now? Has there been any improvement since? What are the things that you've done to ensure that there has been improvement? And what is it that you intend on doing in your research as it relates to that?
Okay, so as I was explaining, I had the opportunity to test my son abroad. I needed a complete medical, and it was revealed to us that he had a high concentration of blood lead. His blood lead level was actually like way over the expected amount for, well, at least no lead in the body is good. But at least if there is just a minimal amount in the blood, it can be overlooked. But when his results came back, it was found that it was way too high for his age. And so the amount they say is like 5 micrograms per deciliter of blood that is safe, although no lead is safe. But his was like in the 30s. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And yes, and so we were like dumbfounded. We did not understand why, how, where, when, and we actually asked them to repeat the test. Although the test came back with a lower level, like maybe in the 20s, it was still high 20s. So you know that the test is just kind of right. You understand? So, you know, this thing floored us for a while. And then we started to just, you know, ask how to approach it and what to do. And we started to gain more confidence as we go along. So,
what would have led you to do that test? Was it that you saw some delays in your son's development, or was it just a routine test?
Okay, so yes, we did see delays in his development because he started off, you know, like normally with his mama, dada, and saying the basic, you know, words, building his vocabulary. And then after a while, we noticed that he became mute. He was just like not saying anything at all. He was just, if he wanted to get some feeding or water or anything, he would just take the bottle to us and push it on us. He's not saying anything. One of the things we're thinking is because the nanny we had gave him the thumb, you know, she did that to keep him quiet. So we were thinking that he was just like becoming very internal within himself because he's sucking the thumb and he doesn't want to express himself, but it was not that. So when he was even 2 years old, at his second birthday, we had a party, everything and so forth, and he got toys from family and friends and all of that, and he was sucking the thumb. So I was concerned because it was educators. We have a little understanding in terms of child development and where they're supposed to be with certain milestones and so. And so I mentioned this to the pediatrician. So when the test came back, she said, this is the problem right here. This is why he's not developing normally, because the lead affects especially their brain development. So it will affect the speech. And so, it was a very dark period for us. But we prayed. My husband, is a very praying, supportive husband, and we are strong Christian believers. And so we asked the Lord to help us through this phase, and He did. We were told to go back and do the research, find out, because it has to be in his immediate environment. It's either if he is going to daycare, or at home, or wherever he is, that is where the exposure comes from. It's not something foreign. You understand? And so we had to go back and do our research. We also got a referral from the pediatrician in the US to the Ministry of Health in Jamaica to do further research. So, I felt a little, happy about that. So the Ministry of Health team themselves came to our house, and they used their special machinery and so forth, and they did the lead testing, they tested the paint, they tested the furniture, the crib that he was in, because it was a painted kind of crib. And they tested the water, they tested the toys that he played with, everything. Latoya, guess what? The highest concentration of lead that we found were in some of his toys.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So, this was very, very heartrending for us. And we were thinking, we gifted him toys, other people gifted him toys, but it's like if we were damaging him somewhat. And we never paid much attention to either what the manufacturers are saying. Are the toys BPA free? So this is a terminology that I want my listeners to become aware of. BPA, please look on any plastic toys, or even material toys that your children have, to see what if it says that they are BPA free. So his toys were found to have the highest concentration of lead. These toys, they confiscated. Some were bought in Jamaica, some were from the US. And, we were very, very concerned even about, the standards. Why are these things being allowed to happen? If don't the manufacturers know, don't those who are buying them, taking them into the country, the importers, exporters, don't they know that these things are dangerous for children? I wanted to approach the Bureau of Standards. I wanted to, do so much. But after I settled in my emotion, I realized that the best thing that I could do was to educate persons as best as possible. That this really does exist, and it's it is one of the causes of our child affecting our children's development. And so what I did, because I had the opportunity to contribute to the health and family life education curriculum in Jamaica, I made sure that in those grades that I was writing for, especially for safety and security, I included the information on how the children can learn how to identify even paint, if they're stripping paint. Because what happens is that although leaded paint was banned some years ago, some buildings and even maybe some furniture might still have the paint covered over with other layers of paint.
Okay.
So if you are living in like an older house or apartment and it starts to strip, the paint starts to strip, and those flakes, sometimes when the children see them, they would try to pull them off themselves.
Right.
If there's a stripping paint, they would try to pull it down. And so even that. And for a child like my son who loves to suck his finger, it would just immediately be ingested. So that's
Wow.
one way, right?
And you were
And as
saying
I explained,
toys need to be
the
BPA.
toys,
Yes.
they need to be BPA free. And I was explaining to you that BPA stands for bisphenol A, which is an industrial chemical that has been used in making plastics since the 1960s. And so this is very dangerous. And so if even the plastic bottles that you drink your water from, Latoya, make sure that those bottles are saying that it is BPA free. There's no BPA resin left in it. You know, some people just like to see a nice plastic Tupperware. You can just go somewhere cheap and buy it, but it's not safe. So make sure you look for that indication that it is BPA free. All right, and so it can come even through the soil into fruits and vegetables that we eat.
Okay.
Another way it can come is through crayons that are not toxic free. So make sure that the crayons that you purchase, even for your younger children, that say that they are non-toxic. You know, so these are just some little things that we need to be aware of.
And he was exposed to this while in Jamaica.
But we found out what was the cause.
Yes.
How many more children are so exposed in Jamaica and not knowing? Because, I mean, I had that opportunity. How many parents have the opportunity to get a test like that? Because I can tell you that to get a repeat test for him in Jamaica was never done.
My goodness.
And even though I went privately, it was like a lot of checks and balances, and I have to be going to the university hospital and I have to be going and back and forth and so on. So it's like the appointment, we never, over 1 year, we tried to get that appointment to get that blood test, and it could not be done. So it's not easy and it's expensive. And you know, I wonder, sometimes we have children in front of us who are, you know, delayed in their development as educators. Sometimes there are things affecting them. How do we know that this is not as a cause of, you know, lead or even asbestos exposure? And so I really became interested in that area and to become an advocate for that. And in the United States, there is routine testing for children, their blood lead levels. That's a routine test. So like how when our children are going back to school, we say, okay, come back with a medical, and we expect them to have these tests done. If you're in America, a blood lead level test would have to be one of those routine tests. And we don't have that in Jamaica.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so we might start having it sooner than later.
Yes. Children who live close to gas stations, you know, city dumps, and so forth, because of the variety of things that are disposed there, can be exposed to lead. And I don't know if you know of what happened in Jamaica some years ago, about 20 years ago, with those children up in Kintyre who were exposed to lead through the water that was coming in. Yes. So there was a big breakout in that area. And so there was a big intervention in Jamaica about some 20 years ago, and an education program. But that kind of phased out in a way, but it's still very, very much needed today, because it's not like the problem has gone away. Perhaps it has even, you know, become even greater without our understanding, because there is also studies being done in Jamaica to find out whether some persons who live close to even places where they do a lot of mining of the soil, if that is affecting them, the lead that comes out of the soil, and they live in such close proximity to these areas, right, where they do the bauxite mining, it's affecting them. So like some areas that they were looking at in perhaps Clarendon and so forth, that there was a flare up of violence and aggression and so forth. I believe there was one coming out to look if that was one of the effects of lead exposure.
Wow.
So it's wide.
Yeah.
You
And you were
understand? And
explaining to me that in order, if concentration was higher, they would have had to use a lead to remove it. But then
right,
you were able to correct it with diet. So let's talk more about
right. So if it was greater than 45 microgram of lead per deciliter of lead in the blood, then they would have had to remove it using lead itself to remove the lead from the body. So because his was not over 45 microgram per deciliter of blood, it was okay for diet and to be used to get it out. So we had a special diet for him.
Mhm.
So the foods included calcium-rich foods, food with zinc and iron, especially iron, to help to keep the lead out and to aid in lowering the lead levels. And also, green leafy vegetables, which he wouldn't take at that age, but like blending it and mixing it into things like soups and so forth that he
Mhm.
would get. And also, I remember 1% milk and some other things that were, really strict on his diet. And when he did over the test, since he has been in the US, it has come back um, safe. So he's back
Okay.
in the safe zone.
Okay,
Yes.
great,
So
great.
yes. But when the Ministry of Health personnel came and they did their testing, they did also ask us to remove a crib that he was sleeping in. It had a very low, like three, I think about 3%, something like that. But we still got rid of it. We didn't want anything around us that
Mhm.
had lead in it. And they went even to the daycare that he used to stay at, and they did their testing there, and they didn't find anything either.
Okay.
Um, we also wondered,
Cincy. Yes,
yes,
go ahead.
oh my goodness, let's talk about that. He is a totally different child. We're talking about not talking. Right now, he would talk me out. He would talk me out, and he is very. It's like all those months that he was there not talking, he was absorbing so much information. So it's just like no, he's just letting it out, and he's asking so many questions. Later, he's counting to some numbers that I have to go and get my calculator. Honestly, he's doing some calculations in his brain and so forth. So he's very advanced now.
Yes,
He's at,
yes.
he has surpassed even children his own age. So we give God
Very
thanks for
good.
that.
Very
And
good.
as Bible believing people, one scripture that gave me comfort is that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But
Yes.
once the knowledge comes, you know, the Lord helps us to be free and to be
Yes.
empowered. And when we are
Yes.
empowered, then we help to empower others. And so
Yes.
that was the motivation for my research.
Yes.
Because even for my master's research, I did not do anything great. I did a case study. It wasn't anything that, oh, wow, look at this study. Just a case study about a very effective educator and all of that. Because I really didn't have a passion, so forth for a particular topic. But this
Right.
has become my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Although I met up on a roadblock when I got here, um, I was not able to get my chair to supervise the lead study because it's also environmental science. So that's
Okay.
another disconnect. And I
Mhm.
am in the area of curriculum and instruction.
Okay.
Started off first in educational psychology, but
Mhm.
I kind of carry both of them, and then I'll decide, like in my final year, whether I want to go over into psychology or curriculum and instruction. It's a
Okay.
kind of
So you
thing
are
with
in your final year now at La Sierra?
no, no,
Okay. Let's talk about that La
right,
Sierra journey. How did you
right.
La Sierra in the first instance?
All right. So I've always wanted to study abroad. And I had the opportunity in my younger years when I did my undergrad and even once when I did my master's to do work and travel programs abroad to finance my education. And so whenever I would travel, I would find myself at these school fairs and I would get the information booklet about how to study abroad and all of this and so forth. But it always seemed a little out of my reach, whether the finances, whether, you know, the GREs, that exam that I have to sit, housing, whatever it was. And so I always, but I did apply. I did get through to Andrews University. I also got through to Nova Southeastern University in Florida, and I started one semester with Nova. And because life happened, the children came, I kind of stopped again. So it's like every new year, the resolution was that I'm going to continue my PhD, right? So in
you actually started the journey, I had to stop and then all over.
Yes,
that's
right.
Great.
So in 2019, that January, I said, okay, this is it. And I started at Northern Caribbean University in the counseling psychology program because I came up with a counseling psychology background, as I would have explained to you earlier about being a guidance counselor and having that background. So I was 1 year in with Northern Caribbean University, and then some students from La Sierra University visited the Ministry of Education. They were having implementation of the, what you call it now? There is this intervention with getting the students more accessible to information in general, not just Jamaican literature, but all over the US and so forth, through videos, through different books and so forth, ebooks. So it was called the e-library project. So they would be given this thumb drive that would use microcompression to hold a lot of information. So even if they didn't have data at home, they would be allowed to explore libraries, videos, and so forth to get their research done. Right. So I was asked by my director to oversee this project, right? It was like an addition to everything else that I was doing, but I did not say no. And so by doing this project, supporting the team, I was like the point person on the ground for them to get the data because a number of schools were piloting the program. There were teachers who needed to give their feedback on the device, students, and the principals themselves and how it was helping their students in their exams and so forth. So it took some time to get the information. So just by interacting with the team, I asked them, you know, what's the process like? How do I get to La Sierra University? And I was, you know, explained the process and so forth, and was told that actually right now they are doing shortlisting, you know, for persons who are coming and so forth. So you need to apply, and this is the website and so forth and so on. Wow. And so I got a little hand holding right there from, you know, especially one young lady who was on the team who took a special interest in that for me and helped me, just walk me through. And whenever like I would send something on, she would walk it through here for me to make sure that it got to this department. And if that person received it, she would give me a feedback and so forth. So it was just like, she was just sent for me. We would call her like a destiny helper, you know, to help, because she never left me through the process. And the beautiful thing about it was that La Sierra University would accept me without the GREs first. And when I got here within my first semester, my first quarter, I would have to sit it. And I would have to pass it within the first quarter. So that was a chance too. Also, I would get another opportunity if I failed it the first quarter, but I had to sit it at the end of the first quarter. And so, Latoya, I came up
For those who
Oh,
don't know what GRE is, what is it?
the Graduate Records Exam. So, you know,
Okay.
like for when you're entering, if you want to study abroad, maybe like in high school, you probably have to do the SATs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have to do graduate studies now from your master's, I think for the bachelor's you have to do the SATs. I'm not sure, but for the master's and the PhD, of course, you have to do your graduate records exam. So you
Okay.
have to be able to impress the examiners that you have a certain level of understanding and awareness based
Okay.
on this exam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I came up, I did my first quarter, I passed my first quarter, and then I had the GREs to sit, and by the grace of God, I got it on the first try. I was through, you know, and I give God thanks for that. And I'm telling you, it was not easy. It
Wow.
wasn't easy because even the morning to find the examination site and everything, it
Mm-hmm.
was very, very confusing. But, you know, God helped me and I was out of there. Um, so coming to last year, at first, let me tell you that I did not even have the first dollar to pay the school fee,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right. So to do that interview in front of that panel of, you know, educators and, you know, professors and all of this, it was very, very nerve-wracking for me. But, you know, I pulled through. Even that morning, I remember that morning when I was supposed to do the interview, I was called to do an intervention at Donald Quarry High School. There was death of two students tragically, and I had to take a team there or you know be a part of a support team that was going there, and so we had to do that intervention, and so I couldn't even get back home in time to do the interview. I asked the lab technician at the school to set it up for me, and he set me up on Zoom, and I did it right there at the school. So you know it was just a lot of challenges, but I overcome each of the hurdles by the grace of God. And they were impressed. And when I got that letter, Latoya, when I got that offer letter in my
Yes.
hand, and it says, "You are offered a space at last year university," it was just uh, like someone give me the um the map for a treasure.
My God.
Yeah, like this is a treasure map, and you're gonna find the treasure somewhere. So this is like the goal. This is what you
Yes.
need, and this is what you're looking for.
A
And so I
dream
held on to
coming
that
true.
tenaciously because
Yes.
I said, okay, this is it. And
Yes.
with that offer letter, I was able to just, you know, by faith, propel myself forward. I remember going to a prayer meeting. One of my friends invited me, and I brought my sister. And, you know, I was just there, you know, nicely worshiping and so forth. The pastor picked me out and he said, "Come to the altar." And he said, "Raise your hands to the heaven." And Latoya, if you know me, I don't like these things. You know, I don't like these public kind of show, you know, but I obeyed. And he said, "You are believing the Lord for something beyond your capacity." And
Wow.
he said, "Look at me." The Lord said, "Yes." Mr.
Wow.
Latoya, that's all I needed in my spirit. Because the
Mhm.
spirit tell me yes already, you know. This
Yes.
person who I know not before came and
Yes.
he confirmed it and he said the
Yes.
Lord said yes.
Wow.
And I just, you know, I broke down in tears. I praise the Lord, I worship because I know that it meant that He is going to make the way where I saw no way. And I'm
Yes.
telling you, like one day before I was due the interview at the embassy, I got that sponsor who said that they were going to stand that money for me, the
Mhm.
sponsorship amount, because I did not have that money, neither did I have anybody in my family who could put up so much money to say Louise will be able to stay in the US for all these years,
Wow.
you know, and be able to
Yes.
finance her
Mhm.
education.
Mhm.
And so by the grace of God, each step of the way, He makes a provision for me. I
Yes.
cannot but talk about Lassiter University Church. So there's this church, the church adjoining the school, which is a school church, where chapel for the students and also church for the school community. And this church, I mean, if it's food, I remember in the heat of the pandemic, they
Mm-hmm.
were just delivering boxes of food, to us as students. I remember once, I think it was last December, I believed the Lord for a car. Like, I knew I was going to get a car. I prayed, I asked for it. I never had the money again.
Yes.
And I saw one of the pastors advertising her car on Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
said, interested persons comment below. And I said, I'm interested. So when she called me now and said, Louise, let's talk about the car, let's negotiate. How much money do you have? I said, I don't have any money. I was
Yes.
making a statement of faith.
That's right.
So she said, I would love to give the car to you, but we need to sell so that we can upgrade and all of that. But I'll look out for something for you. And true to her word, some weeks later, she called me and she said, there is this couple that is gifting a car to the church.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks our family is ideal to get it. And
Wow.
I'm telling you, Latoya, I get that car. When I get the car was in good condition. It was full of gas. It was,
Mm-hmm.
just ready. When I brought it to the DMV, like you bring it to the depot in Jamaica to test it for everything to see if it's road ready.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was ticked off. And it's not an old junk. It was
Yes.
good working vehicle. I was gifted, and I did my driver's my test, did the first
Mm-hmm.
part of it, and I got through. And so I just thank the Lord. It's just like each step of the way. I
Yes.
tend not to worry. I tend not to, fret about what's tomorrow gonna bring. How am I going to pay the next fees? Because I just believe that the Lord is the one who brought me
Yes.
here, and
Yes.
I see where He's making the provision each step of the way. And I'm just
Exactly.
trusting Him, and
Yes.
I realize that my being here is not for fame or to say, I'm brighter than anybody and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's just for the glory of God,
Yes.
to be manifested through me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
make myself available for Him to use. So as I was explaining about the study, I had to segue into autism because I did not have a chair to supervise the lead study because that's environmental
Oh,
studies. And
okay.
so what I have decided to do is to look at there is some research being done even in Jamaica right now to find out if lead exposure leads to autism.
Okay.
So I will include that in my studies as well.
Okay.
So it's just a faith journey. It's
Yes.
it's it's me and the Lord, and step by step we're going on. Let me give you one more example. Last year too, in the heat of COVID, with the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, anything that you're affected by, if it is a mental illness, it's gonna flare up. If it's a physical sickness, it's gonna flare up. I
Wow.
think it's a whole stay at home, the whole shutdown, the whole like it's like a whole. It's like you're in a box. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're just shut down psychologically. So whatever
Mm-hmm.
happening, it's gonna flare up. That's what my theory. Anyway, so I had a tooth. I had a bad tooth, and
Yes.
Latoya, I felt it throbbing and throbbing and throbbing. And I said, Lord Jesus. And so I started to take my little painkillers and all of this and so forth. But one day it gave me a start to let me know that, hey, something is happening here. Throw me down. When
Wow.
I did my insurance,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the aspect of it that had to do with dental was just emergency. So there,
Mm-hmm.
the medical part is fine. I can get anything done medically, but dental, because over here it's not like oh Sagicor or whatever in Jamaica when you get You get vision, you get dental, you get physical. It's just all inclusive. Everything over here is just like itemized. But dental is
Okay.
different from vision, is different from medical. And so the dental was emergency dental. When I asked them what this means, they said it's like, okay, if you're meeting an accident or something like that and you lose a teeth, then they can, you know. So having a condition before, you know, having this previous condition where it's failed and what, that's not an emergency. That time the teeth ready for mad me, you know, and it's
Wow.
not an emergency.
Yes.
Anyway, I went to, you know, I think I went to two dentists, and just for them to do their examination, it was an arm and a leg for me, especially as a
Mhm.
student. And by the way, let me tell you that I worked for 1 quarter while I came here. So I got a job as a graduate assistant. And
Mhm.
after 1 quarter, I was told that I was not able to continue because of budgetary reasons. And by the way, I've not landed another job since. So to
Wow.
show you that it's by the grace of
Of
God
God.
that I am
Yes.
here. I
Yes.
have not worked since uh, December of 2019, and in a pandemic, and I'm
And
in
I
a
was gonna ask
PhD
you if you got
program
study leave.
in the US. And I applied for my study leave from the Ministry of Education. I did not get it. So I'm on no pay leave. So
Wow.
when I tell you that it's just God,
Wow.
it is, yes. So I applied for my study leave at the ministry, but I was not successful because I didn't meet the requirement. Based on the time I was made permanent, I didn't meet the requirement to get the leave. And even though that the study, I actually started my proposal at the ministry because at the time they had an action research scheme at the ministry where, you know, if you had an action research topic, you could join the team, and you could do your study and get your study published in an academic journal that was being put out by the Ministry of Education. So I
Okay.
started the process there. And
Mhm.
so the team, the permanent secretary, everybody knew what my topic was. They were supportive of it and everything. Actually, I was recommended for the leave. I was given a very strong recommendation along with my leave letter to the Office of the Services Commission, but it didn't go through. Um, and so I am not on paid leave either. But
Wow. And
as it's by the
you've been there
grace
how
of
long now? How long have you been
since
there now?
2019 September, so September coming will be 2 full years.
Okay, and how the
So
program?
the program is for 5 years, but you can complete before. And as I said, I have 1 year, 1 full year transferred credits from Northern
Mhm.
Caribbean University.
Okay.
And so basically, as soon as I finish this coursework, I just need to go into the dissertation. But I don't necessarily have to physically be present in classes to do the dissertation.
Right. Right.
So I am really looking to just complete the coursework portion of things and so move on to the study.
Okay.
It has been a journey, and I can tell you that I have been closer drawn to the Lord because of all of it, because it's only trust Him now.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
Mm-hmm.
only trust Him now situation.
Yes.
I
About the
was telling you about the
tooth.
tools.
Yes.
Latoya, the tools, and every dentist I went to, they would charge me to just do the assessment. And
Mm-hmm.
when I look at what they were telling me for a root canal, the cheapest option was to just pull it out, just to extract
Yes.
it. And I decided I was going to extract the tooth. The day I went to extract the tooth, it hurt me like never before. And guess what? They said they can't extract it because it's my blood pressure is too high and the pain threshold is too high. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
safe to do an extraction. And I said, oh my God, how much more can I bear? So they gave me antibiotics, they gave me painkiller to go back home with it. And Latoya, I couldn't miss, like, if it's 4 hours, by 3 hours and 55 minutes, I need to take that other painkiller because the throbbing is coming
Oh,
on. You understand?
yes.
And especially at night, I don't know why at night toothache
Two
can
days.
hurt so.
That's what I
Mighty
heard.
God,
I've heard that it's
mighty God.
terrible at nights.
hmm So let me tell you why I was not to extract that tooth. The Lord had prepared for me to get a root canal, and I didn't know. So a friend of mine, she said, and by the way, I can call her name. She's Coral Sheffield. She's a friend of the family. And I asked her if I can use her name, and she said yes. That little lady, oh my God, God bless her soul. She said, Louise, don't extract it too. I will help you. Um, find out how much it is, and I will help you to pay for it. So I was searching around now, some almost $2,000 to do root canal. 2000
Mhm.
US, I'm talking
Yes and no.
about. Latoya, um, I was like, oh my goodness, no, I can't. And then she called me and she said, Louise, I've heard about this dentist. He's Jamaican and he's Dr. Bond. And this is his number, whatever. Call him and find out, if he'll give you a discount and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I called Dr. Bond and I told him, the challenges I've been having and everything and so forth. And I said, every dentist I go to, they want to do me to pay at least $250 to do the assessment first before, because nobody's taking anybody else's word for it that this is what is the problem. Everybody has to do their own x-ray
Bonus,
and
yes.
do their own diagnosis. But anyway, he said, okay, come in on Monday and I will not charge you to do the examination. And so he looked at the tooth, he did the x-ray, everything, and he was showing me on the results where the infection was and so forth, and that, they really needed the root canal. And then I just heard him say, because he had asked me in the interview, where are you from? Where in Jamaica are you from? And what are you doing here? And all of that. And so I was telling him I was a student, and I was telling him the problem with the insurance that it doesn't cover certain things and so on and so forth. So after he did his examination, no, he just said to his assistant, give me this, give me that, give me that. And he just started to ask for everything that he needed. And within a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, I was out of the dentist
Mm-hmm.
office with a root canal. And he said, come back in January for the crown.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I was a little bit, I was like, oh my God, I was there thanking God the whole time. And I was a little bit scared to ask him, what does that mean? When I come back in January, I'm supposed to pay because I don't have any money. I didn't come there with any money.
Yes.
So, I didn't want to ask. So I said, come back in January for the crown. So when I was going to the lobby now, I noticed nobody at the front desk asking me anything. So I said, okay, let me just leave. When I was at the bus stop now, I got a call and it was from Dr. Bond. And I said, oh my goodness, I should have stopped at the front desk. I should have made an arrangement to pay or whatever. So when I answered the phone and he said, who is this? And I said, it's Louise. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. It's the wrong number. I just called back the last number that called me. So I just asked him, I said, Dr. Bond, what does it mean? Does it mean that when I come in January, I will have to pay or start a payment plan or something? He said, no, 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 it's a Christmas present. Merry Christmas.
Wow.
And I was like, God,
Wow.
you could do, oh, you love me so.
Look at
Oh
God.
my goodness. And when I look at God, and
Yes.
when I went back in January, he was telling me that when he came to that plaza, he couldn't even afford the rent for one of the cubicles. And now he owns a whole plaza. So it's more than just dentistry he does there. It's a whole mission field.
Wow.
And so the Lord had it in his plan for me to get the root canal. That's why when I went to extract the tooth, it could not
Because it
happen,
looks like. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, God is so amazing.
He's
And so
awesome.
is awesome. And so
Yes.
these are the testimonies, and there are so many,
The
you know.
scholarships. You were telling me about
the scholarships.
scholarships.
The scholarships. One time I got 3 scholarships. I was on the scholarship committee, and at the meeting, and I saw my name went up 3 times. But at first I thought I saw the first one and I thought it was a mistake. And then I saw my name twice. So I thought, oh, I got 2 scholarships. And then after that, when I got the email, it was 3 scholarships. So Louise, you're qualified for this scholarship, the that scholarship, the that scholarship, 3 in 1. Wow. And that's just God. So right now, even before September, before fall begins, I have scholarship ready for fall quarter.
My God.
Already.
Yes.
It's ready for me to go. So I realize that I'm not here of my own.
Yeah.
And the Lord has me here for a reason, and I just want to fulfill the purpose for which He has called me here.
Yes.
And as you know, I have the children, and the reason, Latoya, I'm just gonna bring it back to the first interview, why I don't leave the children. It's difficult with them and everything, but I can't. It's just like I have these 2 great things that I have to accomplish. One of them is, to get this terminal degree. But, learning never ends. So we're lifelong learners. But the next one is I have to keep the family together. It's just like based on what I have been through and how I have been, from pillar to post as a young child, there is no exchanging one for the other. It's not like I can give up the family for the education or the education for the family. I have to carry both of them. And so every day I have to defy the odds to make that happen.
Yes. Louise Lawrence Rose.
Yes, my dear.
My God.
Yes, my dear.
Thank you so much for spending another afternoon with me. Continuing on this journey. It is a beautiful journey of how by faith we can accomplish our dreams. God has answered some prayers that you've prayed for. When God has something in His plan and in His will for us, He will bring it to pass. And I've learned that from your story. He works upon the desires of your heart. It was a part of His plan to do this for you. And as you said, it is all for His glory. I'm looking forward to the work that you will do when you come back to Jamaica with your degree and the dissertation that you would have written and all of what you would have learned, how you would have executed it in our country and helped to develop our educational sector here in Jamaica, continue to develop our educational sector. Thank you once more for talking to me on Defying the Odds. I am sure your story is going to help somebody else overcome. Thank you, Louise.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for having me. God bless.